And what years were you there for?
So I was born in Eritrea. I was there until 1975 when I was born. I was there until 1985 until I was 10 years old. And then eventually, I was in the middle of the war for independence. It was my oldest brother, Futsum, and Aklilu were the tough ones because, we were in just Adgoma, which is about 15 kilometers from Asmara. And, they were older than me, so they were wanted by the soldiers. So they would kind of hover around. They would come at soldiers, soldiers come at night and grab anybody that looked like old enough to grab a gun and be trained in military. So I remember them just jumping into the bushes because you hear or walking and things like that, or people making noise and things like that. So I was young enough, fortunately for me, I didn't have to do those things, but we know where our hiding spot was. Eucalyptus tree, cactus, and imagine just in the middle of the night, you have to go there and you have to get poked and things like that. So but my dad has to walk over 225 miles to Sudan to save his life because as far as I know, he was wanted by the Ethiopian soldiers. He was going to get prisoner or killed. So my mom encouraged him to kind of go, but he didn't want to go because he didn't want to leave his wife and 5 kids and one on the way, but they had a dialogue between them, each other, that, the other she's in the running water, can't tell what the gender of the baby is going to be, but they promised to each other that if there's a boy, call him Be'imnet, or if it's a girl, call him Amina, which means with belief or trust that if I make it a safe land, I'll save you after. And well, it happened to be Be'imnet, a boy, but, he made it to Sudan and then eventually Italy.
What do you recall from that? It's easy to reflect in that environment now as you get older and you become wiser and you're able to process what all this meant. But at the time, what was it like living in such a hostile situation?
I mean, it was difficult, very challenging. Not everybody goes to school. Mehmet Haile, which was one house where we used to go to school, learn Haho, which is alphabets. And, we played soccer, makeshift soccer because long sleeve arms or long socks, stuff it in with a lot of plastic so it can bounce and and tie it and put another layer on it so you make it circular as possible. And then you got a soccer. That was a fun part. But I mean, everything you have to walk, Kubo, or which means to find fuel for fire, which is sometimes means going a mile and a half, 2 miles, maybe even find climb a tree to get branches or bark from it so you can have fire when you go home with a basket on your head and stuff like that. And you got to go to the well to get water. So, and that was difficult, but at the same time, being a kid was a good thing at the time because I didn't know what was coming. We just, there's war and there's situations but at the same time, for my mom and older brothers, they were more aware.
When did the transition of running become from a process of survival and a process and means of just day-to-day activities to a passion and a potential career?
Yeah, so when we came to the United States, and after my dad moved to Sudan, and he lived there for 2.5 years, and then moved to Italy, and we didn't see him for 5 years, from age 5 to 10, that is for me. And then when I remember when I first time flying, going on a plane or going overseas, and my mom, 6 kids, and herself didn't speak the language. Just when we went to Athens, he met us from Italy to Athens, and I remember just running to him, and I gave him a hug, and he goes, Marhawi, which is my youngest brother, who's 4 years. Bahag is another sister that we have between us, but he's 4 years younger. And I said, no, it's Mabratum. And he's like, oh my goodness, what happened to my kids? He was expecting to be a lot more higher. And here I am, he's comparing me to somebody who's 4 years old, younger than me. So he was devastated. But I remember my mom was just, don't worry about his height or their heights or their weight and things like that. Just make sure all 6 of them are here, because for her it was a big burden to be the husband, the wife. And, as there's no running water, she was doing the cultivation, grinding the flowers and getting the waters, and all that stuff was hard for her. So going to when we saw each other, that was a peace of mind. And going to Italy, we would play soccer. That was fun. That was his vision, that one day can I see my kids take them to the park as soccer, and that dream came true. And then eventually 1987, when we came to the United States, and Italy was land of peace, but my parents always wanted something for their kids, better opportunities. And that's when they came to the United States. And October 21st, 1987, we came here, and looking forward to, great things. But what they told us is, don't waste this opportunity, because we didn't have it. Your uncles don't have it. And for sure your cousins don't have this this opportunity, so don't waste it. And we worked extremely hard. My dad woke us up at 4:30 in the morning to learn English, to the Tigrinya and English dictionary that was back then, and that's how we learned. And then eventually, when I came here, I was supposed to be 7th grade, but because of my lack of English, they put me 1 year behind. So that, for me, that was an advantage to learn middle school instead of to junior high. But Akhlilu and Futsum, they were in 7th and 9th grade, and Futsum had the hardest. I mean, imagine yourself going to another language and starting 9th grade without the language. It was difficult, but he won the trophy that says at the end of the year, most outstanding student of Roosevelt Junior High, Futsum Meb Keflezighi. And after that, my parents put that trophy, before flat screen TV, bear in mind, and I'll put it on top of the TV, the little trophy. And he says, see, in America, hard work does pay off. Just keep mission to that, make us proud, and do the best you can. And, 7th grade, a year later, Futsum and Ahila had a t-shirt that says Roosevelt Junior High My Club t-shirt, and I wanted to be part of them, and I wanted to be like them. And so that's that 7th grade PE teacher, Dick Lord, said, if you run hard, you're going to get A or B. Or if you mess around or goof around, you're going to get your F. It wasn't around the track 4 times. It was around the baseball field, middle of the campus, go down the ramp, go around the softball field, and come back in the middle of the campus. So he has to keep an eye on the leaders and the back. So Coach Dick Lord looked at his watch, and he says, 5:20. And to get the t-shirt or an A, you have to run 6:15 for 7th grader. And he goes, you're going to go to the Olympics. But, not knowing to speak English or not seeing the Olympics, I'm like, t-shirt, where's an A? That's all I was concerned about. And but that, he called the high school coach, Ed Ramos. He says, hey, Ramos, this is going to be a really good one. He's going to be an Olympic. This kid is really special. And he's faster than I think he's going to be better than the older brothers. And that's how my running started, the passion. And I still look back. To this day, I enjoyed running because of that turning moment when he said, you're going to go to the Olympics. And I went, that evening, I went home and asked my dad, Papa, what is the Olympics? And he's like, why are you asking? I was like, well, I ran 5:20. And he says, tell the truth. I don't know, I think even your oldest brothers ran that fast, but tell the truth. I'm like, that's what he said. And, eventually he explained to me how the 5 rings are, what content the world gets together every 4 years for peace and harmony and friendly competition is what he said. That's how it all started for me.
That's crazy. Like how one race changed everything. And when you look back at that race now, how surreal is it that moment was so pivotal in your career, in your life, in your journey? It's even your life trajectory, where as we all live in terms of, obviously both of us, as immigrant sons and daughters of immigrants, and yourself also immigrating here to this country, your parents spoke it as clearly as anybody could say it. You don't want their sacrifice to die in vain. You want to make sure that their sacrifices that they took to leave their own country, to leave their families behind, their own way of living, their comforts, to make sure that they provide a better opportunity for their children. And that one race in middle school is what triggered this amazing career. When you look back at that moment now, what comes to mind for you? How was that experience, reflected upon in your own mind?
For me, it's been a transformation, and I still am in touch with Coach Dick Lord. And in fact, before the 2016 Olympics, we went back to Roosevelt Junior High. If you're ever in San Diego, next to the zoo, it's right there, Roosevelt Junior High, Roosevelt Middle School now. But I go back in there and reminisce. I didn't just recently moved to Florida, but when I run Mission Hills, when I go around by that, I always, for whatever reason, I look back, whether it was at the high school level or whether I was running at the collegiate level when I ran that area, or as a professional, I look back, I says, that's where all changed. And, I've been grateful for the people that have helped me. I have made the name by winning races or being competitive, but there's so many behind the scene people who help you be the best that you can. I'm starting with, Coach Dick Lord, to Coach Ed Ramos, Coach Ron Tab, and then eventually Bob Larson, who was my coach for like almost 23 years. And obviously, and then eventually my brothers and sisters and parents has been huge influence. And then eventually my wife, Jordanos, and the kids has been instrumental to be the best that I can. But I still go back to that, maybe we can touch out a little bit on that later. But in 2011, I'm skipping ahead probably, but when Nike let me go after 12 years, the only thing that got me back to that sport was that 7th grade PE class. So it had another, I guess was the word for it, ignite, or another moment of turnaround. It says, we used to run if we weren't getting paid. Absolutely. And for 8 months, I went out without getting paid from a shoe sponsor. I barely making ends meet. But that was, and then after that, it just flourished. I mean, amazing things happened, winning New York and Boston and making 2 other Olympic teams. So that hope, that planted seed there is pretty amazing. And I've just been very fortunate to kind of look back and kind of to reminisce a little bit.
What was, because everyone sees the highs, they see the successes. What was the most challenging part in that journey from the moment that you ran a 520 till you retired? What was, if you could give some examples in terms of the challenging moments that, because again, you learned a lot in your failures. And I'm a big believer in that your failures are probably even more instrumental in your successes than the highs are, because what you learn from those moments, success is never a linear course. It's up and down, and you have your highs and your lows. And we can all learn a lot from people and the challenges that they faced, the struggles that they dealt with, and how they overcame those barriers to reach another threshold, to reach another level, to maximize and continue to reach the potential that they had. So I'm curious, in your journey, what were some of the challenges of which you had to face to become the person that you are?
I mean, they're endless. A challenge that you meet every day, but I always says marathon is a metaphor for life. But athletically, I've been challenged many times. I mean, it can start from high school, getting injury, like, oh, maybe this is the end of it. You kind of like losing hope. But, it is not, because there's so many, especially being in the United States, there's so many people that are physical therapists, chiropractor, or medical that can diagnose what the problem is and then kind of get you back the protocol that you need to recover. I've had 2 ruptured quads, pelvis fracture, and Achilles tendonitis, knee tendonitis, but at one point for some people that could be the end of it. But the one that stands out is when in 2004, I won the silver medal, and I was looking forward to doing great. And because everybody thought that was a fluke, I'm like, no, it was not a fluke. I'm going to show you to you, So that internal competitive has to come out. And 70 days later, I remember again, second place, going to at the New York City Marathon. And I didn't go to the White House because I was so serious that I wanted to make sure that, to prove people wrong, that I'm still legitimate. And altitude, what I train in Mammoth Lakes, you have to be there for at least 21 days. And the White House visit was between those days, and I couldn't pass on. But you have to sacrifice something to gain something. But I think getting second place there and third in Boston, I'm looking for that win. I know everybody works hard, but like you said earlier, as an immigrant, you want to even work harder. Why? Because you want to seize that opportunity. You want to give those chances, maximize the best you can, because others don't have it. So I was looking forward to winning my first marathon, and I worked extremely hard in 2007. Even at the London Marathon, my Achilles started hurting. I said, I'm going to drop out, because this is in April, I got in November to make another Olympic team, hopefully try to win a medal, maybe gold even, instead of, another medal or gold, because I already had silver medal. So you can do everything right, but sometimes things don't fall in your places. So in 2007, November, for the 2008 Olympic trials, it was held in New York. I was like, I'm ready for a win. I think this is it. And guess what? I worked extremely hard. I overdid it. And that's when, I ended up getting 8th place. And I had a good friend of mine who I rode the bus, who I trained with in San Diego in Mammoth Lakes, Ryan Shea, who passed away that day. So mentally, physically, and emotionally, I was just wiped out. But my wife and Howie were there. And I remember my wife and I praying on our knees on the bed, just saying, you know what? If the silver medal is good enough, if the American record is good enough, I'm happy with it. No, there's no worries. But I knew in down deep that what I was doing in training, there was still more gas in the tank. So I decided, I guess New York City will be my personal Olympics. I can't wait another 4 years, but I'm going to come back and make a statement. And obviously, it took me about 10 weeks later, I realized that I had a pelvis fracture diagnosed, because at the time I didn't know, I couldn't get up. I have to flip from one side of the bed to the other. I have to use my hand to lift my leg and things like that. So that could have been,
For 10 weeks you were doing it?
No, so for 10 weeks, yeah, for six weeks, I completely took time off, because I wanted to if I didn't make the team, there was going to be a reduction on my Nike contract. So I said, you know what, take 6 weeks off completely. And then after that, I stayed in Florida with my wife's family, and then went back to San Diego. And, you guys ride a bike. For those of you that ride a bike on the sidewalk, going to the street, the ramp, that's the only way for me to go up and down. I did not have power to step that 6 inches, or not even 8 inches, with the sidewalk going up and down, because I didn't have the power. But then I realized there's something really wrong. And then I did the MRI. I went to New York, did the MRI with Dr. loose my harem. And he says, you're lucky you don't need the surgery, but for 10 weeks, the crack is finally filling in. You had a pelvic stress fracture, and they diagnosed that. And then, so that was hard, mentally, emotionally, and physically. That would have been, and I remember talking to my brothers, Christmas of '07. I need you more than ever, because this is a time where I'm probably going to retire and make that transition and things like that. But fortunately for me, I kept work hard, and there's the prayers of grandparents, or prayers of parents, or parents of family.
Your ancestors.
Yeah.
They said it wasn't your time yet.
Yep. And then the other one was, the other challenging was, like I described earlier, of January of 2011 till August of 2011. That's when I had no shoe contract. I tell everybody Howie and I worked hard, and Giordano's my wife, to be able to, sustain the lifestyle, but also reach out to so many sponsors to see if they can give us an opportunities. But everybody said no until Skechers came to the plate. And then I've been, can't believe it's been 9 years with Skechers now. So it's been a wonderful, they gave me the second chance of opportunity.
We're going to get to that, because I think that's truly incredible. And that the second half of your career, I think, is a true testament to who you are as a person. You having come to America, you're learning so much about this country. And in terms of guidance, your whole family's also learning, your mom, your dad, all your siblings, like everyone's trying to understand how to live life in America. Did you ever feel like you were behind and you were running a race essentially where the resources in which other people had, you had to learn how to find it?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think at the high school level, computers were in, but my parents, I remember they got as a typewriter, but about this big and then this wide with the screen, and they say you can go back a little bit to change, edit, things like that. So, I mean, English as a second language became very instrumental. We all, brother and sister, went through that. English as a second language. Not that they knew Tigrinya, but we were with other community that has English as a second language to learn. So yeah, I mean, I think the language barrier, English is a tough language. I mean, I'm still learning, it's very, very difficult. Because of the background of living in Italy, speaking Italian, Spanish came in very handy to us. At one point we were better Spanish speakers than we're English, because it just came quick. But I think adopting is very important. And, family that loves, that supports, that are there for you, kind of encourages you. But, my dad had a 7th grade education, but what he said to us was, the elders will be the mentors for the young ones. Now we call it tutors, but brothers within the tutors of the family. So that's how we survived it. But no, I think, growing up in a, welfare system, also Section 8, also, and then just to have 3 bedroom, 1 bathroom, and with 7 kids and parents.
How many kids in one bed?
Oh, I mean, we have 2, 3, maybe.
Yeah. You have the same thing with me, like 2 would face their heads over there.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
One head there, the other head on the other side.
That's right.
You never wanted to be the person stuck in the middle, having to smell people's feet as you try to sleep.
Survival. I mean, life is about survival. I mean, that's how it was. We had the bunk beds. We had the bunk beds, and with the boys in the girls' room and the parents' room. But yeah, I mean, imagine waiting for 5 minutes or 8 minutes to go to the restroom, and you got to cross your leg, and just seems forever. So, but that makes you appreciate to pay attention to detail. So when it's going to go when and when not. So those things became very instrumental in terms of marathoning, that attention that I have to pay to. But it was fun, but at the same time, a lot of discipline that needs to go into it.
I always say those lessons that you learn are experiences and lessons that a lot of times other people never learn. So when you feel like you're behind because everyone has all these different resources or they have all these different understandings, later on in life, it almost balances out, because all these lessons you learned as a kid of how to survive with very little become so instrumental in your instincts and the way that you operate and how you move and how you handle yourself. Because if you're able to survive and manage yourself with these very little things, as you grow and continue to become more and more successful, like you're capable of knowing how to handle both sides of the coin. I don't know if that's how you felt in any sort of ways throughout your journey.
Absolutely. I mean, until probably recently or whatnot, you're always playing catch up, and that catch up is in life. It comes in a race, and you have to measure. My dad always says, "Wear the shoes of your feet." You can't chew too much than what you can handle either. But it makes you appreciate why that small thing is big thing to somebody who never had anything. I mean, I know after the tangent, but like, getting a bike after college on my own, I'm good with that, I'm not going on budget or, I tell my friends like it was $400, $500, whatever bike, but that was like, wow, I got my own bike.
That's your crown jewel now.
Yeah, I didn't have my own room till I brought my own house. I mean, could have done that, but you have to, priority, I guess, do you want to be a saver or do you want to have a lavish lifestyle also? I think those are, growing up, those backgrounds kind of helps you kind of make appreciate that way. But, our girls, for us until last year, they probably shared a room. We got put on bunk bed just to let them know the taste of it. Could we afford it to have their own room? Absolutely, you can. But at the same time, you got to.
I love that. Yeah, it keeps them, and I'm sure one of the most difficult challenges that you have is that how do you keep your kids humble and keep them inspired and motivated despite the vast amount of resources that you have available for yourself? And you never want that disparity gap where you don't want them being caught in this bubble. I mean, I'm guessing that's kind of the reason why you would do something like that.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm very fortunate to have Jordanos as a supporter, and we have to be on the same page. But I mean, to this day, they didn't have a cell phone. So, she's going to go to high school next year. So that's probably what we said after ninth grade, you can, you can do that, but going from 8th to 9th now, I think she's allowed to get it just because, but going to Eritrea a lot 2 years ago or 3 years ago now, that helped a lot just because they can appreciate where we came from, but also what we had, what their relatives, cousins, or nephews and nieces that they're there can appreciate what they have, because not that, they can't have it, but is it a need? Is it a necessity? Is it want? Is it a need? So those things kind of like, cell phone, yeah, you're with us, mom and dad are with you most all the time. There's no need for it, but it's hard because everybody, they got the iPhone X10 or whatever it is. It's like, you want a cell phone or do you want the iPhone, So that's the distinctions that you have. But we didn't have a lot of materialistic stuff, but we had a lot of love for our family. My parents always said, is it a need or is it a want? And they know, we knew the budget, we wanted to work hard as possible to help them make ends meet versus, my oldest brother Fritz was like, hey, I want to go when he was in high school, I will work in the summer to get you. But then he told him, work in the summer, money is dirty, money, they get the taste of money going to change everything. So do you want to get that taste or do I want to go to college and get a good paying job? So those are distinctions that they set example for us. We could have gotten a part-time job and things like that help out, but at the same time, they understood the magnitude of having an education.
Absolutely. And speaking of education, you went to UCLA, and I'm sure that being on a campus is a culture shock. It was for me when I went to Arizona State. I don't know what it was like for you, but what was your experience like at UCLA as now adulthood starts to kick in and you're already learning a lot of experiences together, at least as a family, and trying to learn this American experience. But now you're in college and it's a whole different animal.
Master, I think that the thing that helped me a lot was athletics, sports, because I was already exposed to that within having cross-country teammate, track and field teammate, or, pole vaulters, throwers, or high jumpers, all that stuff that kind of embrace. And, I think, around Eritrea, where all I seen was Eritrean, and then going to Italy, having Italians there kind of helped me a little bit. I think, I was Marta, my friend, my classmate, and my maestra, my teacher, Angela Lipe, she used to take me on the weekends. So I was exposed to those things. But then coming to the United States, the sport kind of helped me a lot. And having, getting recruited when I didn't even recruit, I went to visit UCLA with my mentor, Gail and Steve Van Camp. And when I went there, I met the team. So, being an athlete, you have the athletic orientation, you have the dorms, you can choose who your roommate is from the running thing. So it was otherwise like 40,000 people or LA, and my brothers and sisters went there. But I still to this day, I don't know if we went for athletics, I don't know how I would have survived it. But by me being there earlier, hopefully I have made it a little bit easier for them. I know I did for Howie, but we have a sister who's also a doctor between Howie and I. So Bahagi, but maybe having that little bit kind of kinship and brothers and sisters kind of helped a little bit, but it was tough. But I think I've been so focused on my academics and sport. That was my environment. And the study lounge, I spent more time in study lounge than I did in my room. That's but that was, that's the tips that my dad gave me, and just make sure you're disciplined enough, because there's a lot of distractions. And I had Ron Tapp, who gave me the Olympic ring when my high school graduation, and said, if you don't, you can make the Olympic team, you can win a medal, but you got to stay away from the distractions. So I like to think I'm a good listener. So I applied those lessons, and, but being on the team, that not only track and field, cross country, but being part of the basketball team or football team or volleyball or swimming and things like that. When we are at the study hall together, or when we are the athletic trainers and things like that, kind of didn't have time to think too much. When I had didn't have too much off season, because I had cross country, I had indoor and outdoor. So it's not like basketball, football, you have one season. For me, was by having those kind of keeps me a go mentality. So I didn't have a lot of time for direction. Don't get me wrong. It's not like I don't go to parties, but probably the first week is, and that's it, just to say I've done
it. Just to understand what that experience is like, and then be back to your goals. I'm sure there's people in here. And again, thank you for everyone who's joining in on this and listening to this conversation between myself and Meb. I'm sure there's people here who are chasing their goals, chasing their ambitions, especially during a time like right now, during a global pandemic, when, mentally, physically, emotionally, it's draining for a lot of people, in terms of, maybe they had goals before coronavirus that have been stalled out, and they're unable to, or trying to find new ways to recreate or reinvent themselves during this time right now in such a virtual world. You spoke a lot about staying focused. What kind of advice would you give to people who, want to chase their dreams, or on the pathway of chasing their dreams, or on the road right now towards their goals and their ambitions? But what would you tell them to try and stay focused?
Being focused is pretty important, but having a routine is important. Sometimes routines that we used to be like monotone. We're going to do this and this and this and that. Now you can't do that. You can't drive maybe, or you can't take the subway and whatnot. But there's a lot of things that you can do at home. Whether, like you said just earlier, reading a book is one thing. But when do you want to read, in the morning or at night or during lunchtime? And I would think, be constantly moved. Don't sit in one place all the time, because, whether it's a living room or go every 2 hours or something, go for a little 2-minute, 3-minute walk, that kind of changes perspective. So I think, I always said injuries is part of the sport. Disappointment is part of life. And whether we like it or not, I like to think I'm not perfect, but I try to do things right the best that I can. But then you get some curves that you never knew was coming, just like this pandemic or other things that are going in your life. And you're like, well, I have to evaluate. And there's always a reset button and say, hey, this is what I want to do and how I want to accomplish. But it's hard. Even elite athletes or people who have made great success have down days also. Just maybe sometimes we don't show it, but it's part of life.
Absolutely. Let me grab my laptop charger real quick. Make sure I keep this going. And now I want to touch on the part in which, me as a kid, when you first came onto my radar, and I'm sure obviously a significant moment for you as well. Correct me if I'm wrong, it wasn't your first Olympic. 2004 was not your first time in the Olympics. I believe it was your second, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Take me through your first experience first. Let's start with that one first before we go to 2004.
So the biggest accomplishment for me personally was making that graduate from UCLA. That degree meant so much, because I don't want to be seen as another athlete who didn't make it through. And, I missed I think I talk in my book, Run to Overcome, I missed 3 days of 5 years of school,
Wow.
Because that weight on my shoulder was pretty important, what my parents said, because education to keep alive, and I give everything. I worked harder when I was at UCLA for my academics than I did for my running, even though if you ask me to write a 2-page paper or run 10, 12 miles, I'll take that 10, 12 mile run in a heartbeat, get done quick. It came in easy for me, and so once I graduated from UCLA, I finished my eligibility in 98. But Coach Larson said he can pay for another 5th year. I was on full scholarship for 5th year. And I said, nobody's going to ever ask me to do that. So I said, you know what, I'll stick around in LA one more year. I specialize in business, so communication and business. And then when I graduated in 98, I got my US citizenship. It was not an easy one. That was a really, really big decision as an adult, and because Eritrea was not in the Olympics yet. I wasn't sure when it's going to be. 97, which was my best year collegiately. I was kind of not burnt out, but maxed out and then I got invited to go to Athens, I believe, for the World Championship. But if I kind of give my 100%, I can't be there. So I was not fit enough. But then I already had processed the U.S. citizenship process. But my dad really, and Futsum and a few others that wanted me to run for Eritrea. And then my mom just said, follow your heart. So it was a lot of like Democrat, Republican debate going on. What should I do? And it's been 10 years in Eritrea, a year and a half in Italy, and 10 years in the United States. So most of my memory did come from here, even though I don't forget my roots, where I came from. So that was a tough decision to make through. But once I graduated in 99, and then I said, let me see this running thing. And I was able to wear that first at the Goodwill Games in New York, in Long Island, I believe, to wear the Goodwill Games. The jersey was awesome. And then a year later, I made my first Olympic team in the 10K to Sydney, Australia. And bear in mind, this is prior to 9/11. So going to the Olympics, you can wear your USA up in the open, whatever you need to do, and show your badge of you're an American. Everything was amazing. Whether they're going to the ferry, you want to take the train, you want to take anything, everything, the boat, and all that stuff was a lot of fun. But I stayed in the village. There was a lot of craziness there. And Abdi Abdurrahman, who's just made his 5th Olympic team, was my roommate there. And we had sprinters and the suites and things like that. So a lot of fun. But the beauty of the 10K was you get done early. Opening ceremony was unbelievable on Thursday. Friday was the prelim. They had a 10K, so had a prelim. They don't anymore, but they had a prelim for the 10K. I was the second to last guy to qualify. I qualified on time, not on place. And then I had the flu. And my dad, as we walked on Monday, and we walked into the stadium with my parents and Futsum and how we were there, and a few other friends. And he goes, son, you made us proud. You make it the Olympic team, and you're going to win a gold tonight. I'm like, Dad, I'm going to win a gold today. He's like, don't think that way. You got to think about positivity and, Asian, you can do it, and things like that. And I'm like, Dad, I barely broke 28 minutes for 10K. Haile Gebrselassie from Ethiopia and Paul Turgat from Kenya, who were 1-2 at the Olympic Games 96, a great race. They are running 26:30. I'm telling you, I just hope that I don't get lapped. And before that, I'll tell you, the downside of it, but I haven't got lapped before in the race, but not that race. And that race, I was giving all my heart. I ended up getting to the finish line. I didn't think, growing up in Arizona, you don't know about replay and all that stuff. So Haile and Gebrselassie and Paul, they finished the shit like amazing. It was closer than a 100-meter finish. Mm-hmm. And I was about 300 meters behind, and I'm looking at the big Trumpetron and looking at it. Wow, look at that race. And somebody else passed me on the right, somebody else passed me on the left. I'm like, I can't miss this opportunity. I was a sport fan, but I'm like, as soon as they finish, Haile won. And then I'm like, I got those two guys. I ended up getting 12th place. Not a bad day, but I remember before leaving that stadium, I said, I'm happy to represent the red and white and blue. I'm the United States. I'm happy to be Olympian, but I hope to win a medal for our country and the next Olympics. But when I made that comment, it was more in the 10K than it was because I haven't done a marathon until 2002.
So what changed? Where in 2004, you're running for the marathon?
So in 2001, I broke the American record. So I improved I did altitude training. Now that I graduated college, I went to Mammoth Lakes, which is in California, about 6.5, 7 hour drive from San Diego, Northeast. And I did 3 weeks of training, and then the race was set for somebody else at Stanford. And I ran the race hard, and unbelievable. I improved by 40 seconds. I broke the American record by 7 seconds. That was probably, at the time, that was the most exciting thing in my life. My jaw was open, like my mouth was so open that I always wanted to be on the cover of Track and Field cover, the Bible of sports. And I'm not proud of that picture, but it just the expression just humongous with my mouth open. And I don't like that photo too much, but being on the cover of Track and Field was huge. And then, after that, I did the marathon in 2002. So because in 2001, I broke the American record. I went to Edmonton for the World Championship. I got lapped. So, and then I had some illness in my stomach that eventually we figured out I had a parasite, and I couldn't go to, that's when I wanted to go to Eritrea, but I couldn't go to Eritrea because the doctor would not allow me to go. And then in 2004, to answer your question, the trials was in February. That would be my third marathon ever. I ended up getting second place to Alan Culpepper, and I was happy. And then I came back. It wasn't the ideal training for me. I was injured, and then I had like 6-7 weeks where I turned things around and make the team. And then I kept building up on that momentum and started running really fast. And then at the trials in Sacramento, I won the trials in the 10K, set the championship record. So if you compare it, American record in the 10K and second at the USA Nationals, which one do you want to do? But to go to Athens, Greece, where the Olympics started, to run from marathon to Athens, the history behind it. And I had a choice to make the 10K team or, the marathon, where the 10K is the first week, and then you can have 2 weeks vacation, or you can wait to the last day of the marathon, which is closing to the closing ceremony. But Coach Larson and I talked about it, and how excited would it be to be part of that history. I was pretend like I was going to run the marathon one day, and then another day sleep, pretend I'm running the 10K. And by the end of the day, I decided to do the marathon because the history behind it. And to be able to go there, I was the 39th fastest guy, so my chances of doing well wasn't the 10K, don't want the marathon. But you take a risk, you leap of faith, I guess, to what you want to do. And every year I was in the Olympics the first time in 2000 with 5 people, and then and I end up winning the 10K and not winning, getting the bronze medal. So that kind of gave me uplift. And then a week before my race, Dina Casher, who I was training with in Mammoth Lakes, won the bronze medal for the women. So I'm like, I'm fired up. I'm going to go for it. But I had an incident like 7 days before or so. A German Shepherd went in Crete Island, an island in Athens. I was running long run with my teammates, and then it was rural area, but the German Shepherd was loose, and he came barking and straight from my throat. And I have to fall back in this gravel and try to kick him, and my teammates kind of throw a rock at it and about to bang my knee. And I remember going to the starting line of the marathon, calling my calling my brother Howie and saying, "Don't worry in case I don't finish," which is DNF, because I got attacked by a dog and my knee is pretty bad, but I took some anti-inflammatory medicine. So don't worry about if I don't.
Oh, we lose you here, Meb? I think we might have lost Meb here. You hear me? Hold on, guys. Give us just a minute. Can you guys hear me? Can you hear me? I can't hear you, though. Oh, there you go. You muted.
There you go. Yeah, I was on mute. Sorry.
Okay.
Maybe
We'll
just get the call back in. Yeah. Just give us
We're going to bring it back in here just a minute, guys. And the conversation is just getting good, and Zoom had some technical difficulties. But we'll get back into this real quick and talk about a moment. We needed a timeout, Howie. We'll get him back on soon. But this
there
moment,
he is.
great. I was just explaining how great this moment was as you're sharing it, because 13 I'm excited to see you on the Athens stage, and had no idea that you were going through a knee injury or knee issue, and you got attacked by a dog. It's the first time I'm hearing this.
There's an imaginary wall. I guess sometimes in the marathon you hit a wall too, so we did it with the internet as well. But yeah, I was telling about Athens, and then what we advised to give information from the sideline was when that medical people or staff in the United States, I tell them to let me know if I'm in the lead, how far I'm back from the lead, 45 second, 30 second, or 15 second, and stuff like that. So they tell me finally caught up to the group, and they say 45 second after the leader. I'm like, I thought I finally caught up to the group, but there was one guy from Brazil, the Lima, who was in the head, and then eventually just got, the whole philosophy of my running is get it down to least people as possible. Get it to 5 people. When you got 5 people, you get it down to 3 people, and then you can fight for the medals. But I remember Paul Turgard was a clear favorite from Kenya, who was silver in 96 and Sydney, Australia, and the 10K. Now finally, he was a world record holder, about 5 minutes above everybody else, including myself, and he was clear to the favorite to win. And I really thought I'm gonna give him the gold to him, but the Lima got attacked at one point. I don't know if you guys remember, but
I do. Yeah. It was crazy.
so I didn't see that happen, but when it was happening on a turn, and then we saw bikes and stuff on the sideline, and then eventually, basically, Stefano Dobildini, the Italian guy. I remember 5K to go. He made a move, and I remember telling him "Andiamo uno a due," which means let's go 1-2, because we're trying to catch up to the Brazilian guy. And he kind of looked at me. He's like, "What?" "Andiamo uno a due" means let's go 1-2, and he's like, "Look at me, this African American guy or black guy talking Italian." I should have made my move then, but I didn't.
And he's confused, like, bye, ciao.
yeah. But that was, and then eventually he was having a great race. He made a little gap on me, and I wanted to get a medal. That's what I cared for. I didn't care if it was gold, bronze, or silver. And with 1 mile to go, I threw my hat away, and I was going to go for him, but I was running fast, but he was running faster, and just a dream come true to finish at the 1896 Old Olympic Stadium, with the region of the Olympics, and to be able to it's like a flashback memories of my childhood from Eritrea, going to Italy, going to that 7th grade class, and training, working hard, and train hard, and you want to represent your country, and now it's happening. You winning a medal for your country. So, and then obviously when the flag got risen, the Brazilian, the Italian, the American, and it was a proud moment, and I felt so grateful for the United States for giving me the opportunities.
I was 13 years old when that happened, and I still vividly remember not only just you winning silver, but NBC Sports doing a feature on you and your family, and what that representation meant for me and my family. As literally, as soon as it was on, my dad, hasa, and we're all just gathered around the TV, just watching this profile done on someone who comes from the same background as we do. And at the time, like obviously now, rest in peace, Nipsey Hussle. We have Tiffany Haddish. Seeing Eritrean representation isn't as rare as it was in the 2000s, where we had you. And what did that mean for you as you represented the Eritrean American experience, as one who strives for his goals, one who's making sure that his parents' sacrifices don't die in vain, but also finding a passion and making sure that he maximizes his opportunity that has been provided for him?
Oh, I mean, it means a whole lot to me. There's not that many Habesha that were running. It's kind of hard, or any other actors, or like Nipsey Hussle or Tiffany Haddish or others that have done amazing things. John Nuguse now in the Capitol Hills and stuff like that. But there was only one person that was a runner at SMU, Southern Methodist University. I almost went there, then they got trouble with the NCAA violation or something. But because he wanted that connection with some of your heritage and things like that. But my parents always said, don't forget your roots. Know where you come from, and I try to pick up the good things from Eritrea. I try to pick up the good thing from the United States. No perfect land, no perfect person, no perfect situations always, but you're trying to pick and choose of the good things and try to do that. And for me to be able to, it's a big responsibility. I mean, when you wear that USA, or when you're talking about your parents, your heritage and things like that, you are an example. You are trying to be the best that you can to be an example for others. And, growing up in San Diego or UCLA, I was always involved with the Eritrean community, trying to do the best that you can and help out when you can. But at the same time, people let you know that, thank you for breaking the barriers, or thank you for doing this, because you are a role model to the young ones. And, to see, like you described, Shansa or whatever it is. And, people, when they see me in a commercial, whether it was for MasterCard or whether it was Nike or Skechers or Citibank and things like that, people express that's like, well, you made it, and I can make it, because, same thing with the American runners, because Dina Castor and myself, we went to the high school in California, to the NCAAs. And then when we won the medal, the resurgence, that's when it really happened, because people start believing that, hey, these people went to high school, to college and whatnot, and they made this Olympic medals and American records, or whether like Dina, she was world record holder. So it was parallel to the people can compare to or can relate to. So it's been an awesome journey for me. And it's always a great honor, whether it's San Jose or Boston or even Norway. When I go there, people look up to me and they want the embassy want to get together with me and my brother to be able to just say, hey, we appreciate you for teaching us perseverance, but representing also your roots here, the Eritrean community.
And I don't know if I've said this at all since we've been talking, but thank you. And it's on behalf of myself and my family. definitely was appreciated, is appreciated, and will always be appreciated.
Thank you, Master.
We discussed post 2004 a little bit as you discussed some of the challenges that you face. I want to fast forward now to 2011. You spoke a little bit about your situation with Nike and trying to find a sponsor. What happened with Nike, and what eventually led to you joining Skechers?
You know, in the running community, there's a saying, "You're as good as your last race," and it's business as usual, unfortunately. But you know, as Eritrean, we are very loyal, very communal, and very collective culture. So, and I still like to stick. And I think most of my fans or most of my supporters respect, understand that, you know, the Eritrean community or their heritage comes out of me. You know, whether it's, you know, embracing people. You know, making genuine to be able to just greet them properly and stuff like that. You know, they're like, wasn't as an athlete, sometimes they want the entourage or they don't want to be, you know, in the space, but you know, that's not how Eritreans are. So I love that part of it. So in 2011 was a tough year. I mean, for sure, you know, the reason being 2009, I won New York City Marathon. 2010, when my contract was up, I ended up getting sixth place, I believe, at the New York City Marathon. And Howie, my brother, and, you know, they said, all right, Nike has said, okay, we got Meb, we got money aside for him, and, you know, and why not? So, and then the race is not.
The contracts there, right?
Yeah, we have signed the day before as a defending champion, but, you know, we were very trustworthy people, at the very least. So we say, hey, we run the race and see what happens. And then eventually, obviously I finished sixth. I ran a couple minutes lower, but it's a lot of pressure. The defending champion, when you're not winning, you know, I talk about 90% mental and 10% physical during race. And so that's what happened when I was struggling, not getting the place that I want, top three or win. And then eventually you think a lot. It's like, oh, I guess my contract is on the line, or I'm not getting the goals that I wanted. So in this race, you're thinking those things, unfortunately, and I'm getting sixth place. And then come January, I remember, I think it was pretty emotional on their part, but I think there was a football game. Cam Newton maybe was a guy, and then Oregon was playing, and Oregon lost the
national championship game. Yeah.
So I think that might have to do something with that. I think the person that was, and then on that day or that next day, they took the contract. They made me an offer that was less than 50 cents to what I was making, and the same obligations or contract reduction. And I remember they took it off the table, and I remember telling Howie, it's like, screw them, you know, I'm worth them a lot more than that. And, you know, I should be, and I tell them I wanted to be part of the journey until I wanted to end my career with Nike. I want to be an ambassador for Nike. So I laid out what I want to do with the running community, but I guess I was no value to them, and didn't believe.
Why do you value yourself still, despite everyone just gets so lost in the Nike sign and the symbols and the logos? Why do you still have the value for yourself?
Listen, as an athlete growing up or whatever, the pinnacle is making an Olympic team, and the pinnacle is making a Nike be their sponsor. I mean, then he made it. I mean, that's the ultimate goal. And I had that journey for 12 years, and I wanted to continue that way. And I think, but I believed in myself that I can still do more. You know, it's that 2007 trials again. You know down deep what your net worth is, what you are capable of doing, and nobody can judge you that. Only you can believe that, and then you're gonna, you know what? I'm going to show it to you. You know, the competitive side of you comes up and said, hey, you know what? You might have got me this time, but I'm going to show it to you. And guess what? After that was anybody that were Nike, you were my enemy, unfortunately, because I'm going to catch you. I'm going to be the top finisher. Even when we were Nike, I want to be the top Nike guy. I mean, it's a competitive world. And after that, it was even more. But I remember just when I was Skechers, I won the trials. I became hey, I didn't go to Olympics in 2008. You know, and then after 2009, I win, and then 2012 trials, right after I signed with Skechers, I was the only athlete. Imagine about pressure. There's like how many other Nike, Adidas, Under Armour, or, you know, ASICS people, but I was one athlete, and that's a lot of pressure. But guess what? I won the trials. I ran a personal best, and, you know, I salute the Marines, but there was a lot of other things in my head that I wanted to say and do. But I remember then Nike guy was there. I said, well, somebody else believing in me. So words can be powerful also. But I mean, I remember and I tell thank you to Skechers because they gave me the second resurgence of that. And, you know, there's a lot of naysayers. So you just got to prove yourself that you are worth and you can do your best, keep going forward.
As much as the silver medal meant for me personally, and seeing that moment for you, your career with Skechers for me is even more symbolic because it showed your perseverance. It showed that no one's going to say I'm done until I say I'm done. And the fact, all it takes is, it's a reminder, all it takes is one person. All it takes is one person to believe in you and to invest in you. And that's literally, that can mean the complete difference for many factors. And you beating the crap out of a lot of people in their races with some Skechers on. The attachment with it was amazing. And you there, show them off. Show off your Skechers. Yes, yes, yes.
And I help him design with it. You know, that's a lot of input in that.
And I'm because since you're the only athlete, I'm sure there was a lot of freedom and flexibility and marketing that you had, that a lot of say that you would have that you wouldn't have at these other places.
Absolutely. I mean, I think their, you know, Skechers says their marketing team, they just happen to make shoes. And I think with the Kurt Stockbridge, who was also worked for Nike, there was another guy, David, who also worked for Adidas. So we just collaborated to see what we can do to make the shoe work. I mean, I have, you know, I give a lot of input on the toe up here, how high to go, the laces, and how crumpled it should be, because they made specifically shoes for me. And for many years I had like lined up around my house around the shoes, because I would do a run or tempo intervals or training. I would give them a call back and say, this needs to change, I need this to be done. And then Kurt Stockbridge and I just, you know, we from different form, or that, because I was getting issues, blisters on the underneath, what we can need to do. So, you know, that fourth, you know, winning the trials and getting fourth place at the Olympic Games, you know, it just gave me affirmation that we would, you know, be part of the team, you know, whereas at Nike, I was getting products sent it to me, but here it was investment that cultivated how to be the best and get involved with it. So the success is even bigger just because you feel part of it and part of the journey together. So it was they gave me the second life of my career, and you know, they believed in me. And I remember Howie and I went to dinner with them after we signed the contract, and he says, you know, we are so appreciative, and, you know, you're going to give us the credibility that we need. I said, well, the only credibility you're going to get is when Meb Keflezighi is on the top of the list as #1 marathoner. And my mission was that. I want to do that, and eventually it was able to live to that. And I told him I was going to run a personal best in the marathon or half marathon, and I'd done it like 4 times probably in 4 PRs or personal records with the Skechers on, and it came a lot more faster than I was with Nike. So it was a blessing. It was the best thing that ever happened. But I also like to, you know, Coach Bob Larson, also my wife, for giving me the freedom and the liberty to keep going, because at one point I thought about even retiring a couple of times, just say, you know what, just move on, do something else. But without their love and support and guidance, you know, because I might run the race, I might win the races and things like that, but there's a team behind the team. And as you can see, behind me, this background, those are a lot of the people in my last marathon. That's how deep people have been to be able to help me be who I am. And it was even at the Olympic Games, maybe we can talk about it a little bit more, but I was struggling. I was at the London Olympics. My goal was to top 3, top 10, or run a personal best, but I was struggling, and people often ask me, do you enjoy the scenery where you run a marathon? I'm usually absolutely not, because I'm kind of super busy concentrating on my not teammates, and also competitors and things like that, how their breathing is, how the mechanic is, and things like that. But at that point, I was 21st place with a halfway point of the marathon. I was struggling, a big wound on my foot, like a 3rd-degree burn. I was going to throw the towel, and I thought about the St. Joseph Cathedral. I think this is a good place to drop out, and thought about it. But then I looked down, I said, USA jersey, this is the Olympics, and how many people love to be in your shoes? But also my daughters are at the finish line. If I'm going to tell them to do the best that I can, every time I got to be an example. I got to get to that finish line no matter what, and no matter how many people pass me, because I wasn't thinking about passing people. But you think those things, and then positive thing is amazing. That 90% mental is just now. I'm going to, it was in a group. There was another group. I prayed, God, help me get the second group. Let me catch the group. And then there's 8 of us. Maybe if I could beat 5 of them, or if I beat 3 of them. And then eventually I was like 13. And then eventually with 5K left, I was 5K left. My coach pointed out 6 fingers. I was running with a Japanese guy named Namoko. And, we were not taking the tangent. I said, if I could be this guy, I can end up getting 5th place. I got to save my energy to outkick him at the end. But then in the marathon, the imaginary world that I discussed about, like the internet, is that sometimes when you fall, when your mind says go, your body says no, because you depleted everything. And I was running, and with 2 miles to go, I see a green jersey. I said, I got to catch that guy. I got to get that finish line just in case if somebody, I don't know who's in the lead, I don't know who got 1, 2, 3. If one of them get busted with drugs, I want to be the one moving from 4th place to the bronze medal. And with 500 meters to go, I caught up to the Santos. And I listened to a lot of from outside brothers and sisters, all my brothers and sisters were there, and others. He says, Meb, I'm going USA. You can catch that guy. I remember nodding at him with 1K to go, and then eventually caught him with 500 meter. And then I see the flag. I'm like, should I grab the flag? Should I not grab the flag? Should I? And he's trying to catch me. I'm like, we jumped the Santos, but I went past him. I grabbed the flag. I went around with both hands like this. But then he's trying to catch me. I'm like, the finish line was not as big as Boston or New York. It was, not very visible. Amazingly, from 21st place, I came in 4th place, but that taught me how to overcome challenge, overcome adversity, and be in the moment, because eventually my 2 teammates, Abdi and Ryan Hall and Abdi, dropped out, which I was considering. Imagine, we were sending our best team. We almost have 3 people who DNF, but I didn't even know they did not finish until afterwards. So that 4th place kind of gave me hope that, hey, you can make another Olympic team. Hey, you can win Boston or New York City Marathon. So that was a very powerful one. And I talk a lot about that, about motivational speaking, but that's probably one of my highlight career on not being in the moment to overcome. Everybody knows about the wins, but behind the scenes when you're struggling, that one stands out.
It's crazy, the power of positive reinforcement, even to yourself. When you speak positive to yourself, and when you consistently tell yourself, don't screw up, you're going to screw up. But if you tell yourself, hey, just keep going, you got this, the difference it can make in your production and your ability to chase your goals and your dreams, the mind is powerful. And I agree with you in terms of the 90-10 application, which applies to not only just in your profession, but to life in general.
Yep.
A lot of it is very mental in the way you treat yourself. I got 2 more questions for you. And after that, we're going to open up the floor for a couple questions from the people who are viewing. If you guys tuning in, again, thank you guys for tuning in for this conversation. Please, in the chat right there, as prompted by EDN, please drop your questions in the comments. Nagash, I see your questions. Please send in some more questions here for Meb. And after I'm done with my 2 questions, I'll be taking a couple of your questions before we get out of here. And you talked about after that Olympics and going to 4th, that, hey, I can win the Boston Marathon. I can win the New York City Marathon. I want to focus specifically on the Boston Marathon and what special of a moment that was for you to win that and to become the first American to win it since '83, I believe, correct? Mm-hmm. Take us through the context and kind of what happened the year before and how that race played out for you.
Yeah, I think the Boston was the only thing that was not in my resume as a win, because I had an Olympic silver and New York win. But going to the race in 2012, I finished 4th. I was invited to Boston Marathon, whereas I was not in 2011. So 2012, 4th place allowed me to be invited to Boston Marathon. In 2013, but due to an injury, I could not compete. But I'm an emotional guy. I really badly wanted to win, and I want American to be there. But in 2013, I told early that I couldn't take because of injury, and then Ryan Hall dropped out, didn't scratch out of the race, and then Abdi scratched the race. And I remember calling my brother Howie. I'm like, we need an American. We need somebody to be there for like 10 miles. And but the emotion, I said, no, if I can't win, I don't want to be there. And then in 2013, I was a spectator. I was there for 4+ hours because I don't get to enjoy those moments to see my fellow runners come across the finish line, because the Boston Marathon is the oldest continuous running marathon besides the Olympic Games. It is the Olympics for the average runners. It is the Olympics. It takes some people to come 22 years to qualify for Boston Marathon. And that year, I said, Howie, start watching the lobby of the hotel. And then I said, you know what, let me just give me a pass the grandstand if you can. And then he got me a pass and kept watching. And I sent a text to Ryan Hall after the finish. I said, we can do this next year or something. And then I had an appointment, and I left 5 minutes or 8 minutes before the bombing happened. I left Howie there. I left because we were waiting for the Meb Foundation runners there. And so we left, and then, the bombing exploded. And as soon as I got to my room which is about 200 meters away from the finish line, and everything changed. And I remember Marhawi was the last one to get to the because his cell phone battery was dying and get into the room. And I had my oldest brother-in-law ran the marathon and all that stuff. So it was a amazing time for us as family. But now this happened, like scary moments. And that afternoon, you don't know what to think of it. I think Bonnie Ford from ESPN.com said, that afternoon of the bombing, are you going to come back, or are you fearful to bring your family and things like that? I said, I hope to be healthy enough to win it for the people. So that's when I set that goal. I hope to come back and win it for the people. And obviously the next year, April 21st, 2014, I was 2 weeks shy of my 39th birthday. I was the 15th fastest guy in the field, and experts had less than 1% chance of me winning the race. And you know what? Boston strong, I'm going to give him Meb strong and see what happens. It was very emotional, but you train in Mammoth Lakes at altitude by yourself. You kind of see those moments. You pray, you cross yourself. Nobody's looking, just deers around. You're like, God, keep me healthy. God, give me that victory. Maybe I can do it. Yes, I have this dialogue. And then that race, the Ethiopians were trying to slow the race down, and the Kenyans. And then I said, you know what? If I'm going to win, my goal was to win top 3 or person or best. If I'm going to do that, I'm going to push it from the front and see what happens. And as I alluded to earlier, 5K is a long way in the run when you see a 4th marathon. But at 5 miles into the race, 21 miles to go, I made that move, and you can see the emotion, people coming out to support. You can see the riot on the street, people holding posters, Boston Strong, you can do it. But I wrote the victim's name on my bib, which is, as an athlete, you're not supposed to do, because sponsors get offended or they get whatever. But because I did the names of the victims, it went viral. So people were, even Martin Richard, the 8-year-old boy who's his dad, they were out of town. But somebody called them and says, Meb has his name on, you got to watch this race. But they were not in Boston. And that's how they came to embrace it. And as people chanting USA, USA, no American has won since 1983. And, the Boston Marathon is point to point. So there's not a lot of turns, so you can't look back and things like that. Joseph Boyd and I were at 8 Mile. And then at the halfway point, you probably done athlete get in the zone. When in the zone, you don't know, you're in the moment. I don't remember going to the halfway point. I really don't. And then about 16 miles in the race, having done the Boston course helps because I know what the hills are. So I wanted to be by myself. I wanted to separate from Joseph Boyd. I threw that 520 mile that I ran 7th grade just became a 431. Mile 16 with 10 miles to go. So, but now it's like, I'm committed, having a watch helps because you can see if you're slowing down or not going the hills. And then about 18, 19 miles, people are doing the waves, USA, USA, or chanting USA. I'm like, USA.
Was that giving you energy as you saw
Absolutely,
that?
absolutely. I mean, I get emotional. I'm like, USA, but I'm like, concentrate on the race, There's a Boston Marathon, there's a Sitco sign, which is a 1 mile to go. And that could not come fast enough because I was getting everything that I have. My foot is hurting really, really bad. If you look at the video, this alternation mechanically in my left foot, I'm not, like 3rd degree burn that I always get, my 3rd one. So with about 5K to go, I said, my goal was save your energy until I had a visualizing that race came to Boylston Street. But I woke up and I thought Gabriel Mariam from Ethiopia was the one next to me. I'm like, come on, man, let me win. He speaks Tigrinya. I'm like, come on, let me win this time or something. That's when I woke up. And with 5K to go, I see an orange jersey. I don't know who it is. I look back, there's an orange jersey. I'm like, wow. I did all the leading that somebody's going to catch me. So 3 things came to mind. Try to save your energy, for the Boylston Street, the finish line, or trying to maintain the gap or trying to extend the gap. I said the first one is no good because if I allow him to catch, he's going to have the mental edge over me. So just trying to maintain the gap or trying to expand the gap. But people probably will get nervous. Why am I looking back? But I'm also to engage if I'm getting bigger or shorter or whatever. And then with 1 mile to go, I said, oh man, I'm starting throwing up, but I can only hold it like this because I don't want to show my weakness. And, I kept pushing and pushing back. And then I said, if he was feeling this good, then he would be with me, but he must be hurting. So try to hurt a little bit more, just a little bit more. And I see one sign with 1K to go. I'm like, man, why do they have this sign? We Americans like to know miles. And for him, East African guy, whether from Kenya or Ethiopia, he's probably thinking 3 minutes of pain. Okay, so about 3 minutes. He's going to grind it and try to catch me. I'm like, oh, I wish they didn't have that sign. And then coming left on Hereford, I said, there's those only turns. So I said, now he can't see you. Try to sprint as hard as you can, take the tangent and make sure the gap look bigger. Hopefully you get discouraged. And then going left on Boston, which is about 600 meters from the finish line, I crossed myself. God, give me the strength. I know it looks, the finish line is right there, but I know for a fact 600 meters. So don't cramp up, don't push, and don't then get cramped up and things like that. So I use the police escorts to kind of pull me forward as pacers. Like if I go faster, they're going to go faster. If I slow down, they're going to slow down. So I'm like, keep pushing, keep pushing, keep pushing. And I did the cross of the finish line where the bombing happened. And then I just like, thanks heaven for allowing me to have this opportunity, because 36,000 people wanted to change that day. 36,000 people started the race to do something positive, to show resilience and commitment of not giving up. And I was just fortunate enough to be able to be the first American to win it and give the Boston a little bit of healing to that. And then I was thrilled to have, my wife here, Danos, and to be greeted there. And then my brother, Howie, and Bob Larson. And, dreams do come true, but they just come a lot later. And I was very, very fortunate and became the oldest one since 1931 to win the Boston Marathon.
It's amazing, man. It's amazing. And you recently retired, correct me if I'm wrong?
Yeah.
When you retire? Congratulations on that, by the way.
2017, after doing 26 marathons, I did. I became a student of the sport, and people often ask you how far is a marathon. I said 26.2, 26.2. So one marathon for each one. So New York was my first marathon in 2002, and New York was my last marathon in 2017.
What for everyone listening here, as you share these incredible stories and journeys, not in life and also in your career, what do you, as you look back on your life, what is your biggest takeaway from where it's been so far? And obviously you've got so many other things that you still want to accomplish today and tomorrow and the next day after that, but where it currently is right now, as we've been reflecting back, what has been your biggest takeaway on your journey so far?
Well, I think a couple of things. I think mine is never give up, and the opportunities come and go, but you got to maximize the opportunity to the best you can. You can't go back. Even if I want, I can go back to high school or college and whatnot. But you try to maximize. Or the races in London 2012. You have opportunities, and those opportunities you want to hold them on for dear life and try to be the best that you can. And there's ups and downs of life. There's ups and downs in the marathon and anything and everything. But who are you? The best that do the best that you can. And even though there's hurdles or obstacles in the way, you got to believe that you can overcome them.
Definitely. And again, for those that, before we get to these questions, again, you've got a couple books that you've published. You have them on hand right now so people can know and be aware of if they want to read more on this journey and get to see the in-depth parts of this journey. Run to Overcome.
Want to Overcome. And 26 marathons. And then Meb for Mortals is an exercise book that I wrote, after I win the Boston Marathon. How did it happen? And a lot of nutrition and cross training, recovering, and all those things. So, it's been very blessed. I have a great co-writers that help me be who I am. And, it's been an amazing journey to, I always say run to win. It doesn't mean getting first place, but getting the best out of yourself. And all of us, whatever department or profession that we have, as long as we do that, it's a great thing.
Great books to read right now during this quarantine to help keep you inspired, motivated, fit, as everyone's turning to running now. Trying to find different ways to exercise. So many options that are available, and hopefully this conversation, the last hour, 90 minutes that we've had, it just I'm sure just we can't even touch everything that's in that book that can really truly benefit people who read it, inspire those who read it. Because I've been inspired just from this hour conversation. I can't imagine what it's like reading these books and really feeling the true depths of your journey and the ups and downs and the story of incredible resilience that you've displayed throughout not just your career but your life. And we thank you for sharing that with us as we take questions.
Definitely, Meb. Thank you so much. I have to say this is a great conversation, and I just really admire the way that you, like throughout this conversation, the way that you just kind of continue to give credit and respect to the people that have supported you on your journey is really incredible. From the beginning until the end, you were like, my wife, my brother, my sister, my mentors. And I think that that's so truly incredible and just a testament to your character. So I just wanted to start off by saying that and acknowledging that as well. So to begin with, we have a couple of questions. And so I think the first question is actually going to be on video, and it's going to be from Finot. And so I'm just going to pop her over. Just give me one quick second. So, Finot. Oh.
Yes.
Oh, can we see you? Okay, go ahead.
Can you see me?
Yeah, there you are.
Okay. Hi everyone. Thank you, Master, for this amazing interview. I mean, this is your profession. You're so good at it. And thank you so much, Mevratom, for your time with us. With EDN, mental health is something that's really important, and something that EDN has been doing a lot of programming around these last year or so, and really about raising this issue within our community, because it's not something that's really talked about. And you've talked about your faith, you've talked about the support of your family, but what else, what other tools or, instances or challenges did you find that you had to overcome in relation with mental health? Because you seem to have a really strong, foundation, but all the things that you described are so mentally taxing. Like running is such a mentally taxing effort. So if you could share with us your experiences with mental health, that would be appreciated.
Thank you, Finot. I think it is an issue, and for me, I have seen a psychologist in the past when I was dealing with the injuries, and try to read a lot of autobiographies, because everybody has some kind of issue that going on, and but the sooner that is diagnosed, the solution will be available. And there's no shame to say I have this kind of doubts or these issues and things like that. So, the more you can go to the people that you trust and express to them, and just like that 7th grade PE teacher, he saw my potential, and there's other things that people can see and say, hey, you need to do this, because they love for you, they care for you, and that's why they want to give you those advice. And we get left and right advices, but we have to take it with a grain of salt, but at the same time, kind of is something to mold over, and mental health is pretty important.
Absolutely. And I echo that, because I see a therapist every week, especially with our backgrounds that we've gone through. I mean, there's a lot of generational trauma that gets passed along that you need someone to help teach you and coach you through those, and help you work through those. And I can't stress it enough in terms of the emphasis and the benefits towards a therapist, psychologist, people that you can support yourself with, and growing in the same way that you would, as you mentioned, you need a coach or trainer as you run, you need a mentor in any profession that you're in. And you need to train and treat your mind with that same approach and that same mentality.
That's really powerful, I think, coming from the both of you. That's a really powerful message to send out there. We have another question. This one's from Gannet, and so I'm just going to prompt her. Thank you, Fanat. And so there you go. This is Gannet's question. Go ahead. Gannet, you're on mute. Go ahead.
Great. Thank you both so much for the conversation today. It was really great and inspiring. I have a question for both of you. Both of you can answer. You're both very successful.
Wait, hold on. Yeah, just my bad. Give me a second. Okay. There you go. Meb should be back. Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry about that, Meb.
Yeah, again, I just want to say thank you.
Unmute yourself, Meb. Meb, there you go. Cool.
So extremely inspiring and really great to tune into this conversation. So the question I have is for both of you. You're both extremely successful in your respective fields. And I know with success comes a lot of hustle and sacrifice. So looking back, what is some advice you would give your younger self?
You broke up a little bit. Can you repeat that last part?
Yeah. What is some advice both of you would give to your younger self?
Okay. Well, I think I wouldn't change what I've done, in hindsight. Maybe it's just, like college life, whatnot. And I was always, unfortunately or fortunately, always serious person, and I don't want to waste those opportunities. So, when I was at school, I didn't miss much days just because I was dedicated to my academics, and I understand the value, the sport that, whenever you pair that UCLA jersey or my high school jersey, take it seriously. So I think it'll probably have a little bit more fun. And life is a challenge. You're committed, but at the same time, it's okay to be, enjoying yourself a little bit.
Yeah, I'd echo that on my end too. To get to these points and levels, there's a lot of sacrifice you have to make, whether that's, for myself, when I cover the NFL, these teams are playing on Thanksgiving, they're playing on Christmas, they're playing on New Year's Day, so I can't go back home. I haven't lived back home in Dallas in probably 12 years now. And my mom keeps asking me consistently, when you come back home, when you come back home. But these are sacrifices you make, and that time away that you spend away from your family, you miss them, and you want to make sure that you spend as much quality time as you possibly can with them when you do have that time. And so that's been something that's been an emphasis for me over the last 2 years, which obviously is difficult now during the pandemic. I can't go fly down to Dallas, but I would just continue to remind myself, hey, make sure you continue to emphasize. And there's nothing wrong with chasing your dreams and chasing your goals and chasing your ambitions and your passions. And that's ultimately what your deepest desires are to do. But make sure you carve out time for your friends, your family, and making sure that, you support them in the same way they support you as well.
Great. Thank you, Gannet. So we have a couple of other questions. So Negash Haile asked, although you're officially retired, will you ever consider competing again, Meb?
Maybe for age groupers, but no. I think I kept that alive and just until 2020 trials. I retired in November of 2017, but I qualified for the Olympic trials. Wow. And I was kind of hovering over it, just an idea, not that I was training for it, but absolutely now is definitely out of the question. I'm enjoying my 6-mile run, 5-mile run versus what I used to put about 100 to 130 miles a week. So my body is appreciative of that, and I don't have to have those wounds or issues that I usually do. But I like to run for the Meb Foundation. Eventually, I've done the Martin Richer Foundation, and then Team for Kids. I'm an ambassador for the Team for Kids fundraising for young kids in New York, and then for the Meb Foundation, Maintain Ambassador, Health, Education, Fitness. I would probably like to do that. But in terms of high-level competition, no. I might jump in. I still jump into local races maybe here and there just for fun with my daughters or family, but I think that's about it.
Okay. And then another follow-up question that Negash also had is, what are some important nutritional tips you can provide to athletes, and how important is it to eat healthy?
Well, I think as an athlete, you are what you put in your system. As a human being, whether we want to lose weight or we want to perform at a high level is very important. I think I discuss a lot of that on Meb for Mortals. But I think protein is important. Before was maybe eat carbohydrate, pasta and or rice, but that's not always the case. You need to be able to recover those muscles. But the day of the night before the race, that's very important to carb load. Importantly, I remember just in high school and college, or even when I got married, that's what I like to have: spaghetti, red sauce, meatball, and the beauty of Habesha or heritage is we eat big proportion, unfortunately, but we eat very healthy. It's nothing from the can. It's all from scratch. So thankful for our moms and wives and others who all cook around the house, just because I think that's sometimes even my dad back in San Diego has his tomatoes or corn or a few other things that it keeps it homish, and I think if you need something, you can always go grab there. I think that's very important.
Great. And then Erica asked, what are your primary goals going forward?
Well, my primary goals is, I think that my foundation is important, but also my family, my kids. I just recently moved to Tampa here about a year ago. I think, I still like to run, exercise, be fit. I think I had a little shoulder injury about 2 months ago when the quarantine kind of started, but I couldn't do a lot of the home exercises because of my shoulder, but I like to do a lot more, whether it's coaching or motivational speaking and motivating people.
And Saba asked, everyone says that East Africans are the best long distance runners in the world. Have you trained in Eritrea?
I have trained in Eritrea, but I didn't go there to train. I went to visit relatives and family. And yes, East Africa has the reputation of, the Ethiopians and the Kenyans. And I have somebody give me the shirt. I'm going to steal it from you, but I don't know if you can read it, but I don't know if you can read with the background, but what it says is this: in our mind, you are all Eritrean, because I said, go Kenya, every champion is from Kenya or Ethiopia, but with their Sanai, Gamai, Selassie, and others, they're knocking and doing amazing, great things. I think I like to congratulate the Eritrean Athletic Federation, because in the short time period, it's been an amazing, amazing accomplishment, all the way from Olympic medal world champion to cross-country titles. I mean, in 2000 was the first time we got in the Olympics, and to be able to be fourth at the Olympic Games or win a medal is incredible. And especially there's a nice accomplishments on the road, on the track, and also on the half marathon is amazing.
And then another question we had was, do you think they should do a new trial for the Olympics given the 1 year deferral?
No, I don't think that's, I'm okay with what they have. I think can the results be different? Absolutely can be different, because a marathon, a lot of the favorites, especially on the women, did not make it. But for the United States, it's fair and square. You get to choose that day. And Atlanta Track Club did an amazing job to celebrate them. And now it's just, they got to train for the 2021 Olympic Games, and hopefully they will happen. Hopefully, depends how this pandemic kind of goes, but we are hopeful that to get back to the races. But I don't think it should be rerun. It should be what those results are good enough.
Okay. Before we do our last 5 questions, is there anything, just the both of you, a couple last things that you'd like to add to the conversation, Masters or Meb?
Master has been a gentleman because he let the elders, the tradition elders, go first. This Elal EDN has been an amazing. Keep up the great work. It's such an honor to be speaking with you guys. I think we have a beautiful culture there's no perfect culture, but we can learn from each other and appreciate each other, and don't be scared to reach out to other people who have accomplished, because those people are role models, and just like brothers and sisters have been role model for us. And I think it's important to always remember your roots, but appreciate what the Chris Crick Country also has done, not only in the United States, but I know this is global, so be the best that you can. And I think in this time, we do make a lot of sacrifices. Nothing is achieved overnight. Nothing is happens over. We miss a lot. Like Master said, within weddings or anniversaries or birthdays and things like that. But you are doing things for a greater cause and to help yourself. Take care of yourself, and then you can help others. Because if you don't take care of yourself, then it's hard to help others.
Yeah. Masters.
Yeah, in my end, the simple fact to have this conversation, when I expressed how much Meb meant to me as a kid, it's truly humbling to be in this position, and thankful for the work that I put in, the opportunities, the fortune, the luck that I've had to put me in these situations, to put me in these rooms, and hopefully I can inspire other people in the same way Meb inspired me, and hopefully those people can continue to inspire the Eritreans, Eritrean Americans, and people in general, but specifically our people, because our story is so rich, our story is so powerful, and just knowing that all these accomplishments that we're able to do in such a short amount of time, it's just truly remarkable, and it's only going to continue to improve, only going to continue to see more people continue to infiltrate in different fields, professions, occupations, and regardless of it's a difficult time right now over there, but the people always bring me back to what we do this for. And I'm proud to be Eritrean. I'm proud to have Elal with Eritrean people, virtually and in person. And I'm definitely very prideful of my background and my heritage. So I'm thankful to be here.
Love that. So we've got 5 questions before you guys go. They're quick fire, just off the top of your head, okay? So tell us something about you that would surprise us. So we're going to start with Masters. Go ahead.
What?
Meb said he needed a little bit more time, so we're going to give him a little bit more time. Go ahead.
I like Eritrean music, but I'm a bad dancer. This is I بزرع فتني هذا.
Oh, well, you better join us for the Shim Shim tonight. Go ahead, Meb.
I love Shim Shim and I love Tigrinya music, but I think what you'd be surprised is I'm not a very good American dancer.
Oh.
Even though that'll be you know, my girls are doing the TikTok thing and I'm out of that.
Love that.
That's surprising.
All right. What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
That's a good one.
So for me, it would be like Anthony Bourdain. Whatever Anthony Bourdain did, that was an amazing thing. So
Yeah.
What would it be for you guys?
I've been recently getting into the stock market, and I've actually been enjoying day trading. I find it very fascinating. Probably my dad somewhere, if he's listening to this, is probably happy that I'm saying that. But it's something I've just been picking up during the pandemic that I've actually really enjoyed.
Great. Meb, what about you?
For me, I always wanted to be a doctor or engineer.
Wow. You're an Eritrean parent's dream. That's amazing. And then what is your favorite word?
Oof. I like saying dope. That's dope. That's really dope. I say that very frequently.
Meb?
I didn't hear that part. I think balance. I think I try to, you know, I try to live by my name, maintain excellent balance. I try to be a balanced person. Great.
What absolutely excites you right now? Like, what is the most exciting thing happening, or what excites you right now?
Honestly, talking to my family on the phone, because I had prioritized and mapped out a plan where I would at least try to go visit them once a quarter. And since I don't have that time now, you just end up, especially right now in a pandemic, you appreciate such little things now that you took for granted for your day to day. Just being able to talk on the phone with my family, and you know, they're in good health, I'm in good health. That to me, it brings me a lot of joy.
Yeah, I think for me is spend time with the kids. I think that's what you know. You can't do much things now. I used to love travel and dine and meet different people, but at the same time, right now is my kids. Great.
And heaven exists. What would you like to hear God say when you walk through the pearly gates?
I hope he's proud.
This is the last one. This is the last one, I promise. Go ahead.
I hope he's proud of my accomplishments, but I mean, ultimately, like, you know, I whatever he says, it's not like I have a choice of like, you know.
You're there, yeah.
So, you know, I hope he says welcome. Not anything else.
Great.
Yeah, I think hopefully you can say, well done, my son. The end of the day is I have my Bible here. You can see.
Yeah.
You can, but you know, no athletic accomplishments, you know, you do that and you try to glorify him to the best that you can. And, you know, I didn't grow up in the church, going to church, and because of being an immigrant from place to place and things like that didn't work. But I think it's important to just say, hey, you know, I did the best that I can with the talent that you gave me, and I hope I made you proud.
I'm glad. Well, you guys, thank you very much. We really appreciate this. Masters, we're looking forward to your Elal. That's going to be coming up soon because they're going to be a spotlight too. Meb, we really appreciate you just taking the time to talk to us. I mean, I think like Master said, you are a beacon in our community, and before, you know, before Nipsey, before Tiffany, there was Meb. And so I think that it was, like he said, you know, when we saw you on TV, all of our parents were like, be quiet, Meb is on, like, we're going to listen and learn from him. And you've set such an extreme example for our community. And I just want to say we appreciate you. And we thank you for taking the time with us today. So we really appreciate it.
Thank you, Naomi. Thank Master. Thank the EDN for having me in this Elal, which means amazing to me because, you know, sometimes you're busy or doing things, you don't get connected with your roots as much as you like to because honestly, but now it is a great honor to be an example where, and we as Eritreans, happy Independence Day, and we can celebrate and shim and whatnot, but at the same time, we can always do more. We can always do more, but we appreciate what we have. Some things might be small to us, but greater to others. And that's the beauty of runners, or been among others, is that they tell you that you have impacted them, whether it's to be a runner or whether, you know, you struggle with a math class and getting a master's, and says, you know what, your journey helped me do that. So it doesn't have to be running, but there's so many valuable lessons that we can learn from each other and be the best that we can be for others.
Absolutely. Well, thank you guys so much. Masters, do you have anything you want to add?
Happy Independence Day.
Happy
Thank you
Independence
for the
Day.
conversation, and it was a pleasure talking to you guys.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. And we hope to see you here for another Elal. Have a great day and happy Independence Day. And Eid Mubarak to everybody as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.